case of Heather Elvis. Heather Elvis was a young woman full of life, with dreams and a bright future ahead of her. But one fateful night in December 2013, she vanished without a trace, leaving behind a trail of questions and heartbroken loved ones. What started as a case of a missing person soon unraveled into a web of shocking secrets, forbidden relationships, and chilling theories. How could someone disappear so suddenly, and who could be behind such a mysterious case? As investigators dug deeper, the case took a sinister turn, exposing a story that gripped an entire nation. Was it jealousy, betrayal, or something far darker? The twists and turns of Heather's story continue to haunt those who followed it, making it one of the most chilling mysteries in recent history. What really happened to Heather Elvis? And will the truth ever fully come to light? Introduction. Who was Heather Elvis? Heather Elvis was a 20-year-old woman from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, with a vibrant personality and dreams of a bright future. She grew up in a loving family, known for her bubbly nature and infectious laughter. Described as creative and ambitious, Heather worked as a hostess at a local restaurant, where she was well-liked by her co-workers and customers alike. Heather wasn't just an ordinary young woman. She had big plans for her life. She was passionate about makeup artistry and aspired to build a career in cosmetology. Friends recall how she loved experimenting with beauty products and had a talent for transforming simple looks into something stunning. Alongside her aspirations, Heather was just beginning to explore adulthood, balancing work, friendships, and romantic relationships. However, like many young people, Heather faced her share of challenges. She had recently ended a romantic relationship with Sydney Moore, a man 18 years her senior and married with children. The relationship had been tumultuous, and breaking away from Sydney was a step towards starting fresh. In the months leading up to her disappearance, Heather seemed to be turning a corner. She had started dating again, was gaining confidence, and appeared to be optimistic about her future. But beneath the surface, there were lingering tensions, and her past relationship with Sydney Moore would come back to haunt her in ways no one could have imagined. Heather Elvis was more than just a name in a headline. She was a daughter, a friend, and a young woman with dreams. Understanding who she was is essential to grasping the gravity of her disappearance and the heartbreak it caused her loved ones. The night Heather Elvis disappeared. The night of December 17, 2013, started like any other, but it would soon spiral into a series of events that remain a mystery to this day. Heather had gone on a date with a young man named Steven, someone she had recently started seeing. According to reports, the date went well, and the two spent time driving around and enjoying each other's company before parting ways later that evening. After returning home, Heather exchanged text messages with Steven, thanking him for a wonderful night. But as the clock ticked closer to midnight, Heather received a phone call from an unexpected person. Sydney Moore, her former lover. What exactly was said during that call remains unknown, but it was enough to prompt Heather to leave her apartment and drive to Peachtree Landing, a secluded boat landing along the Waccamaw River. Security footage later confirmed that Heather's car arrived at Peachtree Landing in the early hours of December 18. However, what happened next remains a mystery. Heather's car was discovered abandoned at the landing the following morning, with her personal belongings still inside. There was no sign of Heather, and from that moment on, she was never seen or heard from again. The discovery of her car raised immediate red flags. Why would Heather drive to such a remote location in the middle of the night? Was she meeting someone there, or was she lured under false pretenses? These unanswered questions marked the beginning of a complex and chilling investigation. The role of Sydney and Tammy Moore. As investigators dug deeper, one name kept resurfacing: Sydney Moore. Sydney's connection to Heather was no secret. Their affair had been the talk of the town. But Sydney wasn't the only Moore implicated in the case. His wife, Tammy Moore, also became a central figure in the investigation, and their involvement would become one of the most controversial aspects of the case. Sydney and Tammy's marriage was far from conventional. Tammy was known to be controlling and had reportedly forced Sydney to end his affair with Heather. It was later revealed that Tammy had sent threatening messages to Heather, accusing her of trying to destroy their family. Texts and phone records painted a picture of jealousy and hostility, with Tammy exerting significant control over Sydney's actions. The night of Heather's disappearance, Sydney and Tammy's alibi raised eyebrows. Initially, Sydney claimed he had made a late-night trip to a local Walmart to buy a pregnancy test. However, surveillance footage showed Sydney and Tammy together, casting doubt on his story. Additionally, phone records revealed a series of calls between Sydney and Heather, leading up to her disappearance, further implicating the Moores in the case. What added fuel to the fire was the discovery of evidence suggesting that Sydney and Tammy may have been at Peachtree Landing that night. While no physical evidence directly tied them to Heather's disappearance, the circumstantial evidence was enough to warrant their arrests. The arrests and trials. In February 2014, Sydney and Tammy Moore were arrested and charged with kidnapping and obstruction of justice. The arrests were a significant development, but they did little to bring clarity to the case. Without a body or concrete evidence linking the Moores to Heather's disappearance, the prosecution faced an uphill battle. During the trials, prosecutors painted a chilling narrative of jealousy and revenge, alleging that Tammy and Sydney had conspired to harm Heather. Witnesses testified about Sydney's affair, Tammy's threatening messages, and the suspicious activities of the Moores on the night of Heather's disappearance. However, the defense argued that the evidence was purely circumstantial and insufficient to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. In 2016, Sydney was convicted of obstruction of justice and sentenced to 10 years in prison. Tammy was later convicted of the same charge, as well as kidnapping, and received a 30-year sentence. Despite these convictions, the question of what truly happened to Heather Elvis remains unanswered, as neither Sydney nor Tammy has ever confessed or provided information about her whereabouts. The ongoing mystery. The case of Heather Elvis has haunted the community of Myrtle Beach for nearly a decade, leaving a lingering sense of unease. For her family, the pain of uncertainty has been unbearable. Despite the years passing, they have never stopped fighting for justice. Every year they hold vigils, raise awareness, and do everything in their power to keep Heather's memory alive. Their hope is unwavering, that someday they will find out the truth about what happened to their beloved daughter, sister, and friend. Their journey continues to be one of relentless searching for answers. The mystery surrounding Heather's disappearance has had a profound effect on the entire community, as well as true crime enthusiasts across the globe. It's a chilling reminder of how human emotions like jealousy, resentment, and deceit can spiral into something much darker and tragic. Even after Sydney and Tammy Moore were convicted, the case still felt unresolved. The idea that a young woman could vanish so suddenly and that her family could be left without answers is something that has stayed with many people. The case has left a trail of questions that have yet to be fully answered. While the convictions may have provided some legal justice, they have not brought closure. Heather's family still grapples with the same gut-wrenching questions, yearning for peace and for the chance to finally bring her home. The mystery continues to cast a shadow over their lives, and as we reflect on the case, one haunting question remains. Will the full truth ever come to light? And will Heather's family ever find the closure they so desperately deserve? The disappearance of Heather Elvis is a case that has gripped the hearts of many, leaving behind a trail of heartbreak, suspicion, and unanswered questions. What do you think happened to Heather Elvis? Could new evidence one day bring clarity to this mystery? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth true crime stories like this one.